All right, so I know that I post a lot of updates of my son's skin, and for those of you who are barely kind of following in, my son was diagnosed with HS a long time ago. His first signs of HS were when he was 7 years old, and as the years went on and he got older, his HS progressed, and it progressed to a point where by the time he was 11, he was already considered HS3. And it just continued to get worse. And at 13, we made the change to go gluten-free and dairy-free. And by looking at this chart, you'll see that consuming large amounts of lectins can damage the gut wall, preventing the gut from absorbing nutrients properly. Lectins impact your health in multiple ways, ranging from digestive issues down to creating chronic diseases or risks. And if you look at the lectins breakdown, there's actually wheat in it. So with wheat, I think the reason why I went with wheat is because one, wheat has a lot of side effects from all the research that I've performed. And not only that, but wheat is in practically everything, like in everything. And it has to be looked into like through a scope, because it's just used in so many ways and it's named in so many different forms, such as durum, farro, bulgur, malt, barley. There's even like more complicated names that I can't even say, triticale, um, glutenin. So, just because it doesn't say wheat on the label, but if you see spelt durum, farro, those are other ways that, gluten is basically relabeled. But just to basically state, you know, wheat is in the lectin family. So that's something that needs to be, eaten with caution because it's just in everything. And everything else is kind of like here and there, like corn, what we consider nightshades, which is like beans, eggplant, tomatoes, you don't see that in all kinds of products, but wheat is pretty much in everything and anything. It's very rare when you don't see it in something. And when you look at dairy, these two kind of just go hand in hand from what I've noticed so far. And in looking into dairy, you can either be sensitive to dairy for two reasons. The primary reason being that it's you have an intolerance caused by a disease in lactose production with age or genes, and so as a result, lactose becomes poorly absorbed. But because we already have a condition for those who have HS, I believe individuals with HS, such as my son, fall into the secondary lactose intolerance, which is caused by inflammation in the gut related to an infection or disease, and it's related to the disease of HS. So when having these two components together, it's like a double whammy against your body. So when you're eating these nutrients, if you can tell on the first column, are these proteins, I should call them proteins. When you're eating these proteins, you're causing a reaction, Once it gets into the intestines, it's creating leaky gut. And so from there, you have bacteria that's being released from your digestive system. And those are bacteria that should be actually coming out in your poop, which is also your stool. But because it's not making it all the way to the exit sign or the exit door, it's being released back into your bloodstream, which is into your body. And because bacteria is gravitates towards heat, these bacteria molecules are going to go towards wherever heat is generated the most, and that's typically within our underarms, our groin, in between our butt cheeks, and if we have folds anywhere else. As the as people try to go and seek assistance, through medical services, you start getting, the Humira injections, or there's another injection that's kind of similar to Humira, or you get into pills, which is like rifampicin or clindamycin or doxycycline. And all these pills, what they do is basically just suppress your immune system. And while you think that you're actually getting better, you're actually just getting worse. And the reason why I say that is because when your immune system is asleep, it's not doing its job. It's not pushing out the bacteria that your body continues to consume. It's just being released into your body, and it's kind of just being held there as a capsule. You know, your body's like a basically a capsule for it at this point. And so this is why you see a bunch of people who run out of their pills or run out of their injections, or insurance gets removed, or their immune system just starts to fight back, you know, because it has to fight back. It cannot stay asleep forever. And this is where you see your pus balls come back. They're starting to surface again. And sometimes the pus is even more, and people start to freak out, like, why am I pussing out more than before? But it's because you've had your immune system asleep this entire time. This bacteria has been given time to grow inside your body, you know, and feed off of what's in your body to continue to expand. And when it's expanding, it's also branching out to other areas of your body where HS normally shouldn't be appearing, which is like on your back, on your belly, on the outside of your thighs, on your shoulders, on your face, on your neck. You know, those are not hot spots, but because we're suppressing this infection, this disease, and it's just growing and not being allowed to be put out or exit, then it's going to find a way as soon as that immune system starts to fight back, because it has to fight back. So in the very last column, as you can see, you know, we spend a lot of money. I know I spend a lot of money. My insurance has put out a lot of money. And I've shared my insurance expense where I believe since 2008 all the way to now, I'm sorry, not 2008, from 2018 all the way through now, I've paid over, or my insurance has paid over $130,000 in just pharmaceutical stuff. And that's ridiculous. That's crazy, because that's $130,000 that I probably could have put into something else that was needed for our health. But then out of pocket expenses, you know, that doesn't include my copay. That doesn't include all the additional things that I have to pay outside of what my insurance doesn't cover. You know, and I could have actually used that money for something else, like, you know, making better judgment calls on food. Now that I'm aware that, you know, what we consume is what creates this infection. And not that it creates it, but it's what makes it stronger. You know, I don't know exactly why HS is, you know, some people are impacted by HS, but I do know that it's fed through what we eat. You know, the pus that we have in our body, the wounds that are on our skin, the acne that gets out of control, the fatigue, the bone pains, the tiring, everything's all contributed into what we're consuming. And by changing what we consume, which is just removing the lectins as much as possible, and removing dairy 100%, and replacing it with non-dairy products, you're going to feel so much better. And all that money that you're paying to your dermatologist, ER appointments, you know, whoever had to take an ambulance in the past, because I've seen, or I've heard people have to. And then just the fact that you have to take time away from work, from family events, from everyday events, from relationships. So this chart was created just to kind of give you like a visual as far as, you know, what you eat is gonna appear on your skin. And if changes aren't made, this disease is gonna continue to get worse. And the pictures that we see online and that are shared, you know, if you ever go into the dark web, there's some really, really bad pictures. And sometimes I want to share them, but I don't, because it's it's scary to think that if I don't change the way we eat, then I'm going to be like that picture. And that was the reason why I did a lot of research into this, because I didn't want my son to be a picture on someone's wall at a doctor's facility, or a research lab, or a testing unit. So this chart, I hope, helps somebody. And if it does, you know, make some changes. If you feel like you need to get a better understanding as far as how you eat, so that way you have a better results than what you've had in the past, I'm more than willing to help. But this is just a visual for you to understand, why your body is the way that it is and what we can be doing to try to make it better. And it takes just one little increment of changes to make a big impact on going to the right direction.